The darkness that crossed upon all Middle-earth was beginning to draw itself closer to Dun Harrow. With the pendants in the east taken care of, the roads to the east had been cleared off. Word came out of a war unheard for at least an age. The forces of the West were beginning to assemble against the threat of Mordor. What will be the path of the men of the mountains? By the year 3430 of the Second Age, many messengers arrived at the halls of the Mountain King. Sauron had survived the disaster of Númenor, and once again gave war against all free peoples. Now the oath of Isildur was called upon for the mountain men to uphold. But from those who brought news, not all were from the White City. Dark figures arrived to give word from the Dark Lord, to remember the hardy folk of the favors that they once received from the east, the wealth and knowledge that went to their mountains. The court of Dun Harrow was thus divided. The party led by Halada hailed for the Dark Lord, while the party led by Tamar called for the oath of Isildur. Zarazi was divided on his thoughts. He had greater desires than to be an underling. He wished to expand his influence throughout Middle-earth. But for now, he had to accept the call for war. Doing it so without being under the banners of Elendil nor Sauron. He would use this opportunity to expand his kingdom. He called out for the raising soldiers throughout his domain. Many rallied to the banners of the Mountain King, and west they marched. At first, Halada and Tamar were perplexed with the command, but Zarazir would know how to please them. His intent was for the western villages of Calenathan that rebelled against the Númenóreans. For those whose hearts followed the Dark Lord, he was showing his loyalty to Mordor by taking formal lands of Elendil, while to those who marched under the oath of Isildur, he was securing those villages from attacks of the wild men. This was the plan of Zarazir's to unshackle himself from the bounds of east and west. In the winter of that year, Númenórean forces from Angrenost were defeated by Sagroth of Athrad-Angren, a border commander of old, now turned rebel leader of Eithraid-Engrin. This internal weakness in Calenathan gave Zarazir the perfect opportunity to realize his ambitions. Tamar came with his elite cavalry force from Offerwarden, while Halada and Zarazir came with their mountain folk. Waiting for the warmth of spring, they began their attack. Tamar was impatient and attacked first the forces of Athrad. Sagroth rushed against this smaller force, but was unable to catch it. The swiftness of their steeds made it so. Eventually, Tamar had to fall back and wait for the main army. Over the river Eisen did he pass. Days later came Zarazir with his host, starting the attack on the village. Aladar came second to support his father. When news came of the arrival of the Mountain King, Tamar crossed again the river, preparing his attack on the foe. Sagroth, seeing the danger surrounding him, strode first against the weak line of Zarazir. This, however, was a trap, Aladar's favorite of fooling the enemy into a desperate situation. He quickly joined his father and faced with the full might of a dun arrow. Tamar followed suit, coming from the enemy's rear at full force, unnoticed. The army of Athrad charged with the strength of a wildfire, meeting the rock-solid line of the Mountain King. Arrows and javelins flew to their ranks, killing many a foe. Among Sagroth's forces were heavy axemen, feared throughout all Kalanathan. They began to push back the lightly armed mountain men. When the opportunity to envelop the enemy appeared, they went forward. But Aladar awaited them, shouting the might of the Sworn Guard. The confused Sagroth tried to regroup, but Aladar slain. The elite axemen tried to hold out the line, but after a few moments, the forces of Athrad began to flee. They hoped to seek refuge in the village center, but then the full stratagem of the mountain men had been revealed. Tamar had already taken the village center and sent out his cavalry to attack the fleeing soldiers from the rear. Hethraid Engrin was captured and the rebels killed. But more war would still come to Zarazir and his mountain men. Will he succeed in his dream of a great kingdom that can shape its own destiny? More will come in the next page of this tale. Hope to see you again in this other realm once more.